Welcome back to Where Are They Now podcast. My guest today, folks, was a coup. I had to go out and try to get this guy. He was a tough get because he's still playing golf. I don't want to give away what he's doing right now, but I finally got him. And he was the most polarizing player, in my view, in the entire Big Break franchise. I mean, this is a guy that stirred things up, right, and had game good enough to win the competition. And that doesn't happen often, right? You got guys that are so laser focused on playing the game and they don't deviate. This guy deviated. And we had 650 responses in our surveys, and there were people that love this guy and people that didn't really care for his attitude. And we're going to talk all through that because, like I said, he was polarizing. Don't mistake this guy for not having talent. He's got tons of it. He's very competitive. And he ended up third place in Big Break Myrtle Beach, which premiered on October 7th, 2014. The winner, by the way, and we just had an interview with Don Donatello a couple of days ago. They won nationwide exemptions. Jimmy won in cash and prizes over $180,000. So this is no just a small exemption. I know that was meaningful to those guys back then. They were the pioneers, but really set this guy apart. Anthony Quezada, I am happy to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm glad we're able to make this happen, and I hope that we give the people what they want to hear and maybe extra or whatever to excite them. That's definitely always been my attitude, even when I was there on the show, and I'm just happy to still be able to do what I'm doing.
Awesome. So let's get into the quick hitter segment. That's the segment where our listeners and viewers submit questions, and we had questions all over the place for you. So I'm just going to rapid fire through them with you. First question, it says, Anthony, what did you do at night? Did you hang out with everyone, or was that difficult?
That's a good question, because if you watch the show or if you go back in there and watch, it seemed like I was not really able to mingle or get along with a lot of the contestants, right? But we called it the green room, and this was the hangout area. This is where, everybody did their maybe even drinking. They had beers for the guys, and people who participated in that stuff recall that. Personally, I don't do that, but even then, at the time, I was 18, so I right. couldn't do that, even if that's something I did. But I was able to hang out and make good buddies with Christian Evans, who's the guy who wore the number 7 there on the show, and I was talking to them, and I felt like behind the scenes, we were all on a good note. I see Toph here. He runs one of the tours in town. I see him all the time, and everything is good. It's just that when the cameras were on, it just did not look that way, right? And maybe because of my competition or the way of my instinct that I had. But I'm grateful to say that I did make a couple friends there, and I still keep in touch with some of those guys.
Awesome. Awesome. Next question is just the opposite of that. This one says, Anthony, I was a fan of yours. This is Linda from Chicago. She said, I saw you smile on one of the rewards with Tess and Kate. You were drinking, it looked like fruit punch or something with 2 of the females, and it looks like you guys were having a good time. Did I see the real Anthony is the question.
Absolutely. I don't know if we're recording actual video here, but I have a smile on my face at all times. That's just the type of guy I am. Very positive, energetic. I'm always, seeking confidence and portraying that because I'm a strong believer in that. And yeah, that probably sums it up of, the real Anthony that you would see on a daily basis if you were to run into him at the store or hanging out with his friends.
Next question is from Bill from Long Island. He says, Anthony, you obviously had game, but when you watched yourself play back, were you disappointed at any of your things you said?
Yes, I love it because it gives me an opportunity not to really redeem myself, but to kind of, share what my thought process was at, 17, just turned 18, right? And looking back on it, I definitely made it a lot harder for myself to win because I kept, I put myself a target early in the competition, which is something that I knew I was doing. And I just really thought I could, last it. But I ran out of, per se, my energy, or I ran into problems or complications because I just tried to do it since the beginning, right? So I would have probably maybe stayed a little quieter or try to hide, that killer instinct that I do have at the beginning and kind of, use it more towards the end when it was most important, right? So I came out swinging maybe per se too early. And when it was time to, continue, it was myself that kind of, just messed up. And what ended up causing me to lose was a shot, because I had the lead going into the last semi-final competition.
Mm-hmm.
By one shot, I hit a water ball, which a lot of people say, why didn't you lay up? And quite honestly, that was my fault. I did lay up. I'm not a layup type of guy, and I took a 7-iron, and I, plunked it right in the middle of the lake. And maybe I should have gone for it there too, because that's my style.
Did you think the best, this is my question, did you think the best 3 players were there at the end with you and Jimmy and Toph?
Well, that's kind of very subjective, right?
Yep.
I did Jimmy was a great player. He's already, a journeyman on the mini tours there for a while, and he played, significantly longer than I had ever played. So I know Jimmy was always, a class player, and I really felt that Charlie was going to make it there at the end with us, right? From out the east, and he was just maybe per se like the jog. That's the way I saw him, right? I felt like he just was a class player as well. Toph kind of per se was the underdog, and I'm sure maybe he would say the same thing. But at the end of the day, the 3 or 4 best players did make it there, right? And that's why the competition was had to, determine that. And so, quite frankly, I would say yes, they were. They're definitely the smarter ones, right? They're the ones that made it there and got through all the challenges and all the, things that you encountered on that show, right? We're only there about 3 weeks, right? And it all happened so fast.
Right. I had the opportunity to interview Toph last week, and he said a couple of things. One, he said to say hello to you, and that he does see you out on I forgot the name of it, the tour in Arizona there.
Yes.
Yeah. And Outlaw Tour, right? And so,
exactly.
Yeah. So he was saying to say hello to you. The other thing he said was just what you said. He thought that early on, he thought the best player on the show was Charlie. That was his opinion. And then he said that even reluctantly, because you were kind of, smarting off a little bit, he said, I had to give it to him. He backed it up on every occasion. So it was tough to say that he wasn't a contender, because he was throughout the entire series. And at the time, he says he knows you a lot better now, and you guys are friends. But he said, I was reluctant to admit that Anthony had an opportunity to win. And then Jimmy was kind of the guy, like you mentioned, kind of that journeyman, had the experience. So really, you guys together. And by the way, let's not forget Emily. She was a player that could pound the ball too. Yeah.
She's made status. She's made LPGA status between the show and today, right? She had a card. She's won long drive competitions. She was one of the best players there as well.
Absolutely.
Arkansas player for 4 years, NCAA Division I golf. Yeah, she definitely earned her way through there for sure.
So let's talk about the pressure a little bit. I hear the pressure comes from, and I hear this from, a lot of different players. I was just talking to Mark Murphy, who won Ireland. He was saying, I never felt pressure like that. And he's played on different tours. Same thing with Mark Silvers. And I had talked to him more recently. He won Greenbrier. And these guys are players, and they've been out on different tours, and they said they haven't felt pressure like that. And he said it comes from many reasons. And I want to get your feedback on this too. What they were saying was, one is don't underestimate the talent. Matter of fact, Toph said to me, Kristen Heavens was one of the best players on the thing. He just wasn't playing well. He said he had a great swing. Go ahead. So you agree? Yeah. So
yes, I agree, because it's 2 weeks, and then you come in there and you don't have time to work on your game. You show up to play and record the competition. That's what it was all about.
So the talent is one piece of pressure. The other pressure is you got cameras on you. So they say there's 20 plus cameras all around the course. By the way, I don't know how they hide them, because we never see them on TV. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy, and you have to wait for them to set up. You don't play continuous golf. It's hit a shot, wait 10 minutes for everyone, and then it's action again.
I'm glad you said that, Anthony, because that's exactly where I was going. One of the things I think myself and some of the viewers and listeners didn't realize, well, we realize it's a TV show, but we didn't realize it's a production, meaning it gets edited and things happen. For example, Mark Murphy told me when he was in Ireland, it was 50-degree winds or 50 mile per hour winds were blowing. It was cold. It was rainy. And it warmed up. He warmed up at the range. He went and sat down on a bench, put a blanket around himself, and 90 minutes later they came over and said, Mark, you're up. And he went up, took one shot, and he sat down for another hour with a blanket around himself, and then he went up again. And he took 2 shots in 2.5 hours. And he said that's pressure you never felt as a player, right? You guys are usually playing tee to green. You're playing on and on. That's some different pressure, right?
Absolutely, and it builds up because pressure sometimes is alleviated by the next shot, right? Because the immediate results of what happened or what you were fearing in your mind, it's already played out, and maybe you get good feedback. But you have so much to think about that next shot, and that's uncharacteristic or uncommon in golf today, right? In a real round of golf.
Exactly. So this question is from Allison, and she is from Kissimmee, Florida. She asks, Anthony, what happened when the players get kicked off? Did they stay at the hotel? Did they get to play golf? Where did they go, and what did they do?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say it, and it might sound kind of, bizarre, but they go on vacation, right? They probably don't want the vacation, but they stay at the resort, and they take them off, and they do excursions, adventures, skydiving. I mean, I think some of them went skydiving, jet skiing, going to the parks here, going there. They kind of do some adventures, low key. I don't know how much they promote it because I don't think they did any videos of it, but they kind of do get to hang out. They still hang out in the green rooms. I believe, to be honest, I don't remember very clearly, but I think maybe we did see them there afterwards. But they're not gone like forever. No, they stay there because the last day they went out for party.
Excellent. We're going to work some of the quick hitter questions in as we go, but we want to move on to how Anthony found out about the tryouts, how he actually got selected by Big Break. I want to talk to him about that. One quick programming note. If you want to have your questions answered by your favorite Big Break star, send them over to us at all of our in social media channels. You can get us at Where Are They Now Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, wherearethey.now.podcast.com, and send an email over to us at wherearetheyNowPodcast@gmail.com. So we'll get those answered for you next week. As I mentioned a couple of guys coming up next week: Mark Silvers, Mark Murphy, Don Donatello, and Cindy Miller as well. So a lot more folks from the Big Break for your listening and viewing pleasure. So let's talk about it. How did the journey start? Were you a Big Break fan? Had you seen the show? Where did you go for tryouts? Tell us a little bit about that process.
This is, kind of, you probably won't hear this very often, but growing up as a kid, we never had a golf channel. We never had cable, so I never really got the opportunity to watch, some of those original shows. By the time I was on there, the show had been around for 10 years, right? I was second to last season that ever did air. And I never had too much exposure to it. I knew about it. But the way I came across trying out was I just graduated high school in 2013, and I began to play what was back then the All-American Gateway Tour, a mini tour out there in Phoenix. And the Big Break sent a production team to properly do tryouts, open tryouts. So if you were playing this certain tournament, it was Anthem Country Club. This was in January of 2014. That's when I auditioned, January 2014. And before I knew it, I was sitting in Georgia. South Carolina. I was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, shooting the show in mid-June 14th. And then it aired. So it's a whole year from when I did audition to when the season ended. It's a whole year.
Wow. So I want to jump back to a quick hitter question because I want your viewers and listeners to get their questions out to you. This one is from Allison from New Haven, Connecticut. She asked, were you sworn to secrecy and not allowed to talk about the show once you were selected and then all the way through before it premiered?
Absolutely. I was, I don't know how much, to say sworn to secrecy, but I was, advised and told that I could not share the fact that I was coming up on a Big Break, nor when I was shooting it, and especially not where I was going. In fact, when they sent me the plane tickets, they asked for all my information, they selected it. When I knew I was going to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I still didn't know the show was going to be there. I didn't even know where it was going to be at, to be honest. I was really thinking I was going to fly out there and then they're going to fly me across the seas because I needed to provide passport. So that's when I got my passport booklet in case we needed to fly. But everything was, kept hush-hush, and I just made it seem more exciting, I think. And even people there, they would ask you if you had a lot of activity on social media because they wanted you to keep that going. So they took away our phones our laptops. We had zero access to anything. I couldn't call my mom, my dad, my brother. It was just, I was alone, really.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what it was. And even when I came back, I knew what had happened. I knew who was eliminated first. I knew who would won. I knew how I was going to lose. I knew it all, right? Because that doesn't change even after editing the show. But yeah, no, I couldn't tell anybody until it all happened.
So talk about the journey a little bit. You get there, you arrive in Myrtle Beach. The first time you meet the other contestants, I'm sure, aren't on that boat, right? That you've had to meet them beforehand than that.
That's right. Yep.
Did you get to, this is another quick hitter question. Did you get to play a practice round? And when did you meet everybody?
Yeah, so I think we all showed up within like 2 days. Either somebody showed up early Friday morning, for example, and then the last person showed up early Saturday or late afternoon Saturday. So we weren't all there at the same time, and we just kind of slowly started meeting each other. And yes, we did play one practice round before anything ever started. And this was at the course where they were going to have the final 18-hole match. So they did give us that privilege before. And a couple of days to mingle. We did a lot of pictures and video shoots the first 3 days we were there. I don't know if you go online, there's all those photo shoots that we had, and that was 10 hours of smiling and reenacting. Let's do it again. Walk this way, jump here, do this. Makeup. They put makeup on you, even if you're a guy. They had me all covered up in powder and things, mask my shininess and whatever. So it was a whole new thing. I never worn makeup before.
Got it. So let's do a little word association. I'm going to mention somebody and you tell me anything that comes to mind about them.
Okay.
Let's start with Charlie.
Yes. He was, definitely an all-American boy, right? He's tall. I mentioned the jock earlier, right? He's just, very confident, chin up high. He's a cool guy. Definitely somebody I want to have as a friend. He was a good first impression for sure.
Excellent. So you mentioned on the show, and I know you and Toph have changed opinions about each other maybe, but Jimmy and Toph, you said two of the guys that are safe are two of the guys I don't like, or something along. I'm paraphrasing, but that was what you said. Tell me what your thoughts were about them on the show.
Well, see, I already knew that they had made a good bond.
Yeah.
That's maybe, I'm not sure if I've ever shared that with anybody, but the green room competition, they were, buddy, and I felt like they were like protecting each other, which brings back to that one area when by no means did I mean it, right? But I made Carolyn cry, right? And I said, well, something, if you guys were getting out of your comfort zone, because they were all, I don't think they realized, or maybe they did, but as a young person, I was like, why aren't you like doing more, And I just felt like they were just taking it very subtle. And that's what I said, because they were like buddies, and I'm like, man, I want to destroy everybody. And this is me thinking at 18 years old, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I think, a big difference. Now I definitely would have done things a lot differently, right? And even when I did shoot the show, I never imagined it would come out the way it was edited. And what I said, right? There's definitely in my words, but I did felt like something out of context, out of order, or without the background. And one thing that I want to point out there is they never showed is I'm a man of faith, and one thing I would always do before every shot competition or something, because I never knew how to do it, is I say a prayer ever since I was a little kid, and that never was put into there. So I think that definitely was kept out to make me look more like the bad guy, right? Because then it wouldn't coincide. It's like, oh, he's praying. Oh, he's praying. So that's something that when I look back on it upsets me, because anybody who knows me from junior golf as a kid, growing up, I honor my God at all times, especially at the beginning, and that wasn't there, So that's kind of something that I still think about,
That's a good story. I mean, that's something, you're right. That's TV for you, right? This is who I am. But guess what? In this show, you can't be that, because we don't need a man of faith you're the bad guy on the show.
Exactly. And I've talked to my friends now, and, even somebody, confidence is a fine line between arrogance and, I don't know, I guess I missed the line. My line was altered at the time, or because you don't know the background to it, or you don't know me, I guess. You can't really tell, but definitely a very confident person, and I like to believe, that I can do all things, especially through God who's there with me. So
Sure. So let me ask you another quick hitter since we're talking about your performance in the show. Um, One of the questions, people are always fascinated by the glass break and by the flop wall.
yeah,
First,
yeah, yeah.
first
Classics.
impressions of those challenges.
Well, the crazy part is that glass is a lot bigger than you ever think it is. It looks small, but that thing is like 10 feet by 10 feet, about 35 yards in front of you. And my approach was like the rapid fire hard. And I think I would have gone with the little chip 7-iron.
Yeah.
I was just trying to blast that glass. You remember Chichi Rodriguez hit himself there in the midsection after bounced the ball off the pole.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we were laughing about that because it's like the glass challenge. It was one of the first challenges. And then we all just, thought back to Chichi Rodriguez when he hit himself right there, bent over and fell.
That's funny. What you seem to take a quick shot on the flop wall. What was that all about?
Oh, well, I'm a quick player, and I think that's how I handle pressure, trying to get it done,
Yeah.
And so I might have, been feeling some pressure there, or just trying to just kind of get it done.
I mean, it wasn't a bad shot. It just got caught in the grass and didn't go forward. But if it was 6 inches forward, it would have bounced and rolled up. It wasn't a bad shot at all.
So I just want to get it done. When I see it, I feel confident. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. So I felt ready, and that's why I pulled the trigger.
Before we talk about the final three and you guys in that final match, I want to get your recollections of that and thoughts. One of the best shots in all big break history is your bunker shot. That one, that ball was plugged. I mean, everybody was talking about, as you were doing, the people watching, there's no way he'll get this on the green. There's no way he'll get, and I'll be honest with you, I'm downhill, back of the bunker, completely plugged. I thought I was at my time watching this back in the day when it was on Tuesday nights, we would have kind of our own little, party. We played Golden Tea at a bar restaurant and we'd eat and watch it. And I actually bet somebody. I said he leaves in the bunker, and the other guy went. He skins it and hits it over the green. And after you shot, all four of us didn't say a word for like a minute. It was like silence. Like that was the best shot I've ever seen. Tell us about that.
You're right. You said I was short-sighted. I had the downhill lie. I had a fried egg. I had no green to work with. Either I was going to leave it in the bunker or I was going to skin it across and hit the guy standing on the other side. You're right. The shot, I've never practiced it before. I just knew that physically it was possible to kind of close the phase, soften my hands, and let the sand open my club face and, make it come out soft. And it's something that, me and the guys back home had practiced in general, thinking about, maybe if you try this, it can happen, right? But that sand was fluffy, and it came out like a butterfly on sore leg. It landed, so it was incredible. I couldn't believe it either because there was no second take. That was my shot there, and I'm glad I caught the bunker because 1 foot right, I'm in the water, and that's a couple shots there. So I was very fortunate because I think that's what got me through to that semifinals competition.
One of the things you mentioned and you're right. What are they going to do? They're going to put the ball back there, and how are you going to do it? One of the things that Charlie mentioned on the show was I asked him one of the misconceptions, and he just said, this is a show and they have to edit it and it's timing and all that. And Charlie was very professional and cordial. He wasn't saying he loved his experience, loved everybody on the show. And like you said, he's a real sharp guy. He said, I think one of the things that bothered him a little bit was that when he was going with Jimmy, when he was going to get eliminated, people were like, how did you 3-putt from 18 feet? And he said, we've done the thing that people didn't know is we did that 4 times. Like we tied 3 times and it was the 4th time. We didn't see that on TV. It looked like it was the next hole.
That's right. And they kept replaying that hole. And it was only the last time when, yeah, you're right.
He said he was gassed and he got lazy on it. He said, I knew the putt. I was sitting in the same spot and I hit it 6 feet past and then I missed it coming back and I 3-putted. And that was that simple.
That's true. That's true. I do recall that now. They kept playing that short par 4 was drivable, and Charlie definitely had the distance to get there. I don't remember how all the shots played out, but yeah, it was like the 5th hole that they had to reshoot so that's hours. That's a couple hours worth of shooting right there. 1 hole, give it about 45 minutes, do that maybe you get a little faster, but it's a long time. Yeah, that's a good observation. And I want to throw out there the fact that I don't know if people back home ever know or if they mentioned it, but a few of those challenges you get 2 shots. And they only take your best one. So if you ever look carefully at those videos, you will see a divot right next to it.
Oh,
Before
interesting.
that could be your divot of the second shot. So
Oh,
you'll get a couple shots. So I would write that down because I don't know how much people know about that or if they ever happened before, but I do remember getting a couple shots for some of those challenges.
well, you just let them know. We're going to take a look at that because we have some rabid fans that are still watching this. And the Mondays, by the way, have you got to see any of them? I mean, the binge watching. I don't know too many people that aren't watching them now that we were quarantined during a lot of that time, and that was pretty good to see those one after the other. You could see a whole series in a day.
Exactly. I'm a little jealous that I didn't get my season out there. You know, I'm not sure. Maybe none of our guys have gotten or women have gotten a breakthrough, or maybe that's why, or because I'm pretty sure our ratings were really high.
Yes, they were. They were.
I was always looking for rating reviews, and I saw that my season was a very high-rated season, so I thought it was one of the better ones. But I didn't get the opportunity to get that, Monday premiere again.
I was told that there's a chance they're going to bring the Mondays back because one, they didn't finish the ones they were going to do. The reason they stopped them was because golf came back, and then what they were doing was replaying the Colonial on Monday all day, right, over and over, and the different rounds. And so after a while, based on what happens with golf, they're going to have some week intervals where they can fit a few in. I think they didn't do the NFL one. Were you on that show? Were you on that show with them? No.
So one thing I want to put out there as well is I would love a second opportunity to go back. And I felt confident, or I mean, sorry to say, but I did feel confident of getting a rerun chance, but they quit. There was only one more after us, and that was it.
Yeah, the Palms.
They need to bring it back. They just said they lost money, but from what I hear, a lot of people enjoyed watching it, especially
it was the highest rated show on Golf Channel in the history of the Golf Channel, the highest rated show. Still today is the highest rated show on the Golf Channel.
Yeah, so maybe they'll bring it back. Who knows?
So just give us a brief. I don't want to dig into your elimination. I want to you and Jimmy, you seem very confident, as you always did throughout the show going in. You played very well from tee to green. Tell us what happened to you when it all kind of finished.
Well, when it was over, I felt relieved, to be honest. I don't know if you ever watched my exit video. I was crying, not of heartbreak, but just kind of thinking back of, man, what a journey this has been,
Yeah.
And maybe upset of falling short. I reference back to my dad a lot because he's always very tough on me, and I never did it for him, but he was always there, like either you're first or you're last, and then I almost felt like, man, I wasn't first, but it's okay, I really thought there was going to be more opportunity for me there afterwards, but when it was all said and done and the show aired, I didn't get the best return on it, to be honest. If anything, I lost, And
why do you think that was, Anthony? Do you think it was because of how you're portrayed, or because you certainly had the talent? There's no doubt about it. I mean, you're from a straight golf standpoint. I've said this before. It's Jimmy, you, and Charlie, and I think you mentioned it. Toph was like the underdog there, and he got his way there. More power to him. But when you final three came in, you said it on the show. Matter of fact, you said, when I first saw Charlie, I thought it was going to be him and I in the finals. You said that on the show. So go ahead.
I was going to mention when you asked me about if it was the way I was portrayed, it was, because I almost even lost friends, like some of the people that I knew back home were in disbelief, thinking that I went on an arrogant rant or if I was just not who I was. But even when I was there, I was myself. You catch me here at the golf course, I will give you a lesson. I will charge you. I will help you. I will give you a smile, a compliment. I'll just make you feel like you're most important, right? And on there, it was all Anthony, which is not really the truth, and I didn't get sponsors. That was something I look forward to. Get a sponsorship opportunity from a person. I did have some help, and maybe I screwed that up on a different, area. But related to the show, I really thought there would be more opportunity after the fact, and I never got that opportunity, to be honest.
Interesting. So let's talk about the show's over. You head home. Now, all of a sudden, a month later, maybe the premiere starts. Did you have a watch party? Were you an instant celebrity in town? Tell us a little bit about post Big Break.
Yeah, so that's at the golf course. I was like, oh, it's the guy. And some people I've seen it even today. I'll be in Los Angeles. That's where I'm at right now, and just visiting some friends. But I show up and it's like, oh God, it's that guy. They're scared to come up and talk to me. Some of them like are brave. They're like, oh man, I'm so glad I did. You're cool, you know. And then some of them are like, that's the guy. Go away, you know. So, but in town, it was a big thing. Definitely, people did talk about it and they questioned. They were like, oh, that's so cool, this and that. But yeah, I still think it's been a long effect. Every other week or so, I still get someone who remembers that. And it's been what 6 years coming up here in right now, June. I was right now sitting in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 6 years ago.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we really appreciate you being here. We're gonna we have so many more questions. I might have to bring you back for an Anthony part 2, and I'm not kidding because we just have so many things.
You got the questions, I got the answers.
No, you do. So let's plan on doing it. But thanks for your time. And I could tell you something right now. I've only talked to you for 37 minutes, and this isn't the Anthony that was portrayed on the show. You're an articulate young man, and there's you're talking about 17 going on to 18. I wouldn't want anybody to film me when I was 17. What I said, what I did. Are you kidding me? So that is all water under the bridge. You're an articulate, bright, intelligent young man, and I think you did a real service to yourself. I mean, there's confidence, and you were cocky, and you said some things, but man, you backed it up too. So we're really happy to have you here, and we wish you all the best.
No, thank you, and I look forward to maybe coming up here again. We can talk about what's next, right?
We'll do it. Thanks, Anthony. We'll be in touch. Take care.